Okay guys, so I think we're about ready to go ahead and get this in the engine bay. I could probably do a little more, but I'm just going to do it while it's in the engine bay. I just want to get this in there so I know it's bolted down and all that, and we should be good. I did go ahead and just use some tape and covered up some of these open holes here so nothing drops down in there, just to be safe. I do have the motor mounts off still. I'm going to try and get this in first, and then maybe bolt it up to the torque converter, and then try to slide the motor mounts in, see if that's going to be a little easier. Not really sure yet. But and then these fuel lines, like I said, if I got to remove these, I will. But yeah, just double check everything, make sure you're ready to go. So our torque converter, I did mark the bottom hole there with the yellow paint just in case it's balanced, but I don't think it is. Just make sure everything's out of the way again. And then on your backside here, that should line up perfectly. You can see this top hole is a little bit, probably about 1 o'clock there. If you look on here, that one's turned just a little bit as well. So hopefully my goal is that's going to line up perfectly. And just got to watch the exhaust here. But other than that, hopefully this goes smooth. Okay, so I got it kind of in position here. I did remove my strap, so it's not level right now. Let me come in a little bit here. And then I did take off this bracket here because it did get in the way. It was hitting on the firewall last time. And like I said, this line here might be, I might end up hitting, so I may need to remove that. I'm not sure yet. Let's get a little closer here. So you can see I am hitting on this bracket there for the Degas bottle. So I think what I'll do is I'll get my ratchet strap back on here. We'll get this kind of leveled because I got nobody to push this while I can always do that, I guess. So yeah, let me get my ratchet strap on here. Okay guys, so with that level, I am afraid I'm going to bend those lines. So let me just go ahead and take off those fuel lines real quick and then I'll come back. Okay, so with those off, gives us a little more clearance here. So now, let's see if I can go in a little bit more here. So it looks like I need to probably just try and tilt this up a little bit with my strap, and then it'll kind of go in there like that a little bit, and then I can drop it down some to clear the oil pan, because if I drop it now it's going to hit the oil pan. Well, let me just see if I can go in just a little more and then watch that lifting point back there. Okay guys, so you can see I'm getting close here. Just keep double checking everything. I'm gonna go down below there, check some of that stuff, make sure we're all gonna line up here, hopefully. All right guys, so underneath the vehicle here, I just want to show you real quick. So you can see it's getting real close. You can see my yellow dot with the Flexplate dot there on the torque converter. So I'm hoping that's going to line up pretty close. But I just want to show you what this should look like underneath here. And then you do have the, not sure if you guys can see it, but you got a dowel up there. And then of course, this dowel right here that you need to get into the hole on the transmission there. So I think just trying to think what's the best bet. I think I might jack it up just a little more and go ahead and see if I can just go slide my motor mounts in now. That's going to be a lot easier. So let me go ahead and try that. Let me just jack this up some and see if we can slide that in, because I don't think it's gonna slide in right now. There's probably not enough clearance here. Let's see. So let me just go ahead and jack this up some. See if that's maybe enough here. Trying to slide this guy in. Camera just fell, but yeah, kind of like that, guys. Let me go ahead and see if I can do that to the other side here. That side's a lot easier. Okay, so I'm thinking kind of like that. Now let me go ahead and lower this super slow. Keeping an eye on those motor mounts. Because you can see I still need to go in some. So let me, just want to make sure that motor mount doesn't get caught on your block. You can see we're almost, yeah. I was gonna say we're almost more to the driver's side and I need to come to the left, but looking at these holes here, I think we're gonna line up. So let me just go ahead and drop this a little bit here. Okay guys, so running into an issue here. I tried pulling the motor mounts back out and I still just don't have enough room to push this in, because as you can see, I'm hitting on the cowl up there. So it's almost like I need to have the orange bar below that cowl. So it's like I need to shorten up my chain, lifting it this way. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this all back out and see if I can reset up my chains here. Or if I need to just go back to the way I pulled it using these lifting points here. So let me get this pulled out and reset up here, and let's see if we can figure out a better way to do this. Okay guys, so I just kind of supported it on each end with some jack stands on all four corners, and I was able to get that one main link off. So I'm going to try just using these two links here. Hopefully that's enough to keep this stable, and I mean that eliminates a whole link, so hopefully that's enough. So let me go ahead and get this raised. Okay guys, so you can see I got it all jacked up again, and then I did just add one more chain here, even though it's loose, just for a little extra security, just to be safe. Seems I only have two holding this up, even though they say these are rated at 7,600 pounds each. It's still only held on by 2 bolts. So let's go ahead and see if this will work and get this engine in here now. Hey guys, so you can see it looks like that might work out a little better here. Let me just go ahead and lower it some more and see. Then I may need to level it out. So yeah, that should give us enough clearance now. Let me take a peek underneath, and then I may jack it again, see if we can get our motor mounts under there, and go from there. So yeah guys, I think that's gonna work. So let me just go ahead and jack this up a little more. We'll get our motor mounts under here. So once again, guys, go ahead and drop your motor mounts in there. Go ahead and do the other side. Okay guys, so as you can see, you got this side in as well. So now let's go ahead and let me see if I can level this out a little bit and see if we can go ahead and slide it into the transmission. Okay guys, so finally got it in. Took me a good hour or so. I didn't record the whole thing because I didn't want to bore you guys with that, because I'm out here by myself, so I had to keep crawling underneath, climbing back up, crawling underneath, climbing back up, and then just moving this however I needed to. So it was just taking so long that I decided I wasn't going to record that and bore you guys with that. So like I said, it took probably a good hour, but everything's lined up now. Got the flex plate lined up with the torque converter, and I got one nut started on that. And then I went ahead and got all my bell housing bolts started. I haven't tightened them yet, but they are started. And if you take a look here, the motor mount is off a little bit there on the driver's side, so I need to correct that. And then it's hard to tell, but the same thing on the passenger side. So I'll go ahead and crawl underneath. I'll show you my bolts down there, and then I think what I'll do is I'll jack this up a little bit and then see if I can get those motor mounts aligned up a little better there, so we can get those bolts started down there. But yeah, just take your time doing this. Like I said, and it's not a rush. I mean, at least it's not for me, but I just wanted to make sure everything was in there perfectly, because you don't want to break any of your flex plate teeth or anything like that. So just be careful as you're doing this. Just go little by little, you know, pushing forward, dropping it, raising it, whatever you need to do, and crawling underneath and coming back up. Just check and make sure everything's good. Okay guys, so underneath here, now I did go ahead and tighten up those two top bell housing bolts, reaching up over the engine to get those. So I got those snug, and then I just went ahead and did this one here. You can see I still got all these to tighten up, and I'll just kind of do a crisscross pattern just to make sure that transmission and everything pulls together evenly, even though you can see there's not really a gap there anymore anyways, just because I pushed it together. So probably won't record this because this video is going to be long enough as it is. So let me just get these all snug, and then we'll go ahead and torque all these bell housing bolts. Okay guys, so I got all those pretty much snug. So then you want to come through, if you can get your torque wrench in here, and we're going to torque all these to 35 foot-pounds. So go ahead and do that. Like I said, some of these you may not even be able to get a torque wrench in here, like that one. This one probably won't be able to either. And then for these top bell housing bolts, it's going to be hard to get a torque wrench in here, so I'm just going to get them snugged up to what I would think would be 35 foot-pounds. And then I noticed over here by the exhaust, you can get to that bell housing bolt. So you got your top one, and then you got your one right below it, which is right above where the starter went. And I found it's a little easier to access from up here than down there with an extension. So go ahead and reach over and get these three back here snug, or torque to 35 foot-pounds. Like I say, you got to reach a little bit, but I think this is easier, at least for me, to get this one down here by the starter. So that's probably 35 foot-pounds there. Go ahead and do this one. Just like that. So now that we got all our bell housing bolts tight, let's go ahead and see if we can raise this just a little bit. And that way we can see if we can adjust these motor mounts to where they need to be, and we'll get those bolts in on both sides. So I do still have my transmission supported with that block, but let's just go ahead and jack this up just a little bit. right there to where you can still move this. Go up a little more here. So you can see now we can kind of move that. So what I'm going to do is move this to where I need it to be. And I'll get some of these bolts kind of started. And then I will also be using some Loctite on these guys as well. So with a little Loctite on, get these front ones started. And I'll probably have to go underneath to do the other ones, but just kind of stick this through and then move the motor by hand if you need to. Just get a couple threads started on those guys. And then I'll crawl underneath and do the other two there. Then crawl underneath here and see if we can get to these ones. Get those two started. Okay guys, so before I forget, let's go ahead and get this wiring harness that goes in between the motor mount here, and it's supposed to go to this this dumb bracket here that I'm gonna have to run some tape on. I'll just run some electrical tape back around this portion of it here. That's where it kind of came off. And our block heater cord. So let's go ahead and feed that through this portion of the motor mount here first, so you don't forget that. And you may need to just kind of, if you have to, move the engine a little bit here. Let me get this block heater cord through first. Followed by this. So get that kind of shoved through like that. Let me just go underneath and I'll pull it through all the way. Okay guys, so it was really hard to get my camera in here, so I went ahead and just did this, but I ended up pulling that stud out with a Torx E5, and you can see I just went ahead and retaped this wiring harness. Sorry, red was the only electrical tape color I had. So we still need to get the transmission line, this down here, onto that stud as well. So see if I can do this with the camera here. So I'm just going to take a pry bar here, see if I can just kind of bend this outwards. And see if I can just get kind of on the stud here. So kind of something like that. And I was hoping to get the transmission lines on the stud, and then I can be able to screw that back in. And then this motor mount does move. Since we have enough of the engine lifted, it does move kind of out of the way. So yeah, that keeps dropping. So let me go ahead and get this, because it's really hard to do this with the camera in the way here. Okay guys, so I was able to get the stud back on there, but I wasn't able to get the transmission lines on there yet, just because the engine's lifted up some. So once we lower it, we should be able to swing that around and get that on. But for now, like I said, this mount's real loose, so I can move it up and then just kind of mount it to the engine block there. So let me go ahead and move this up to where I need to, and then get some of the bolts started, and then we can go ahead and lower it. I'm not going to record this because, again, it's really hard to get the camera in here. So let me get all four of these in real quick, and then hopefully we can go ahead and lower it. Okay, so as you can see, got all those started. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and tighten all these. Same with the other side. That's going to be a 13 millimeter. And if you can get a torque wrench in here, it's going to be 46 foot-pounds, but it's going to be pretty hard. So I'll just pretty much guesstimate on that. But like I said, let me go ahead and get all these tight and snug, and we should be able to start lowering this. Let me go ahead and lower this, and we should be able to tighten up all the motor mounts. Just double check before you drop any of this that nothing's going to get caught. So just go down slow. So, didn't mean to go that fast, but I think we're good there. Okay, now all the weight's off of the motor here. So now we should be solely sitting on the motor mounts. So now let's go ahead and grab a 13 millimeter. Let's get all these snugged up and go from there. But first, let me go ahead and get this chain unhooked here so I get this hoist out of the way, give us a little more room down there. Okay, let me crawl underneath here and I'll get the two back ones on each side done really quick here. Okay guys, so got all those pretty much torqued down. Like I said, I didn't use a torque wrench, but just guesstimated on 46 foot-pounds. So now let's go ahead and go back down below. We'll get those three motor mount from the frame to the motor mount, get those three nuts on each side. And then if you haven't already, we can go ahead and get this jack out of here now that the motor mounts are all on there. Drop that from your transmission. So then go ahead and crawl underneath here on the driver's side. Let's get our three 22 millimeter nuts here going on to our motor mount between that and the cross member of the frame. Get those started. Go ahead and tighten those up. And then if you can get your torque wrench under here, you'll want to torque those to 76 foot-pounds. See if this will work or not. So then same thing on this side here, passenger side. All right guys, so now back up to the front here. Let's see if we can get that transmission line onto that little stud there. So let's see if I can just kind of lift this up. Kind of like that. And then there we go. So get that on there like that. Probably hard for you guys to see that. And then take your little nut here and then get that on that stud. And go ahead and get that snug. That should be just a little 10 millimeter on that guy. So next, go ahead and remove this nut along with this stud. And then make sure this is over this wiring harness here, because this is going to go on the outside. And then this ground strap's going to go right here. Let's get that on there and get this stud back into place. Grab a 15 millimeter, go ahead and tighten that up. Get that nice and snug. Then go ahead and bring this over that. And put this nut on. And yep, that's a 15 millimeter as well. Okay guys, so before we mount the AC compressor, don't forget we need to plug in this crankshaft position sensor. So go ahead and grab your wire loom and kind of just drape this over for now. Like I said, that's why I got tape over this so nothing falls down in there. But I do want to get that down here plugged in before we forget. So go ahead and plug this in to your new crankshaft position sensor here. Make sure that clicks. And then you got this clip here. And I'm trying to remember where this guy actually went. Okay guys, to give you a little more light here. So this is going to connect right onto this block here. Just like that. I did have to retape this one right here, but I'm going to wait to put that one on until we get the compressor, AC compressor in there. Okay guys, so now let's get this AC compressor into place. Get your wiring harness out of here. Looks like I may need to retape this one to get it to fit on that block there. So go ahead and take this. Let's get this put back into position here. Again, just make sure that crankshaft position sensors plugged in. And let's get this back in here. Looks like I'm getting caught on that ground wire there. There we go. Let's get it up over that. And then it looks like I should have put this on after I got the AC compressor in here, because you can see I'm just digging into it here. So let me go ahead and pull this off real quick, and we'll get the AC compressor in there first, and then we'll get the battery cable bolted back up in here. That actually might be just enough, just to kind of loosen it. Then we can get that back into place there. And then if you guys remember, there's a total of 3 bolts holding this AC compressor on. 2 are 10 millimeter, which are going to be the long ones. Those are going to be the same exact size. And then you got this 13 millimeter, which is going to be the very far back one. So let me go ahead and try to get these in. That back one's really hard to get to. See if I can get this kind of in here first. Get it kind of held on by at least one of these bolts. And I think what I'm going to do, if I remember right, pull this out. Or at least enough to get the bolts kind of started in here. So if you get them shoved in here, and get this stuck in here. Just try not to lose them here. Such a pain. Let's see. So maybe it will be easier if I just remove this whole battery. Wire here. So then I can get this out of the way. There we go. So now let's see if that made it any easier or not. Shove back in there. Let's see if I can get this 10 millimeter started here. So those are kind of started. So now getting back to that 13 millimeter. So let me go ahead and do that. It's kind of hard with my camera here. Let me see if I can move in a better area here. Okay guys, so I think it's just gonna be easier to get these two 10 millimeters tightened up first. That way it sucks the AC compressor all the way up, and then we can get to that 13 millimeter. So let's go ahead and tighten these guys here. And then see if you can reach way back there. Get that 13 millimeter started. And it's just really hard to get in here and get that one tightened. So it may take you guys a while. Just whatever method works best for you. Okay, so finally got that one tightened up. So now we can go ahead and get this ground strap and that back on here. So then we can go ahead and plug this in here. And then this one's gonna go right here, of course. And then you got this little clip here, which will go around, I think it's around this one. Maybe it was this portion here. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Just get that around. Either one of those like that. And then, like I said, this clip's supposed to go up here. So let me untape this and then I'll get it back onto the engine block there. Okay guys, so I got that all retaped, but that's how it should be. And it just clips onto the engine block right there like that. Okay guys, so now I'm gonna go ahead and do the power steering pump here. Just trying to get some of this stuff out of the way, and then we'll go ahead and work on some of the stuff up top. So take your pump, and get these fuel lines out of the way here. Just get my bolts out of here. Now, there is a spot for 4 on here, but I only have 3 bolts, so your guys might have 4. I don't know if maybe I'm just missing a couple or what. But go ahead and get this into place here. So then grab a 10 millimeter, let's go ahead and tighten those up. Then you can grab your torque wrench if you want. Those are going to be torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Okay guys, so now let's go ahead and start assembling some of this stuff up top. Let me go ahead and get these chains off of here and out of the way real quick. Okay guys, so now before I forget, let's go ahead and do this ground wire here that went and attached to the back of the block. So don't forget that. It's going to be that 13 millimeter right here. Let me see if I can get my camera in there a little better for you guys. That might be a little better. So this bolt here, take him out, grab your wire, and get your bolt through that guy. And then you gotta kind of feel for the hole there. Go ahead and screw that back in. Grab a 13 millimeter. So now I'm going to get the regulated fuel return line for the passenger side here before I get the up pipes and all that in the way. So make sure you got your banjo bolt with your copper washers on here, and then you kind of just got to go off a feel. It's not easy getting this back here. That's why I tried to get it beforehand, but they just got in the way. Then I like to just use a mirror just to make sure you're in the right spot and the copper washer's on there. Yeah, that looks like right where we should be. Again, I'll kind of just leave it loose for now in case I do need to make some adjustments here. Then of course, same thing on this side. That one's a little easier. So next, I'm just going to go ahead and torque those guys, just to get it kind of out of the way. That way I can get the up pipes and that kind of stuff back in there. So Driven Diesel says to do these at 20 foot-pounds. Let's see if I can even get my torque wrench back behind here. Yeah, that's going to be impossible. So let me just go ahead and tighten those. I'll just kind of get them centered. And the torque spec is supposed to be 20 foot-pounds, and that is a 19 millimeter. So let me just go ahead and get those snug by hand then. So I'm just kind of getting it centered, just to where it's not hitting either side. And then I'll just torque it there. To what I'd say is 20 foot-pounds or so. So next I'm going to go ahead and get the this heat shield into place back here. So you'll have to, I put my original bolts into the back of the high pressure oil pump cover here. So let me get these undone. These are the two 8 millimeters, and then you got a 13 millimeter right here. So go ahead and get your heat shield in place. And then again, your this regulated fuel line here is going to go in between the shield and the block. Now I just got to find where that hole is. And let's go ahead and get those snugged up. Okay guys, so now let's go ahead and get the up pipes into place. I'll just loosely mount these until we get the turbo in so we can get everything aligned perfectly. I did upgrade to the BD diesel ones. These should go good with the BD diesel high flow manifolds that I put on there. As you can see, there's the part number. I have the 2004 to 07. If you got the earlier version there's the part number for that. Does include all the hardware, clamps, and then I do have to have my EGR cooler intact still where I live because of emissions, so it does include that. And then you can see it's a 3-piece design as opposed to the factory one here. These ones tend to crack and then start leaking, especially at the flex joints there. And it does not have the heat shield. There's no spot to mount the heat shield on the BD diesel, but that shouldn't be an issue. But it looks like it's going to be a lot better. Hopefully flows a little better as well. So let me go ahead and kind of get this together, and then we'll drop it into place. Okay guys, so go ahead and get your up pipe into position here. And then as you can see, it is still kind of loose here, so I can turn it however I need to. Go ahead and stick this back down in there. Kind of something like that, I think. Just watch your fuel line here. And then you can come down below here. I'm not sure how well you guys will see this, but you got to kind of maneuver that up pipe into your exhaust manifold. And then get your flange into place there. Still don't think I'm on it. If you have somebody to help you, that'd be a lot easier. This part. So I think I got my flange lined up there. I'm going to drop my 2 bolts in, and then we'll get our nuts kind of just started loosely. There's one in. Try to get this. Okay, so I got those 2 bolts in there. So now let me just get the nuts kind of, like I said, just started up on here, because we do want to leave, we do want to leave these loose. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move my camera, so let me get these nuts on. Okay guys, so you can see there's a better shot of it. Got those nuts just kind of on there started. They're still loose. That way we can still maneuver it if we need to. All right guys, so now it says to grab your other pipe here and go ahead and feed this down. Get that kind of how it should be, like that. And actually, I forgot my clamp. So get your clamp here. Stick that over. And then get your pipe on. Make sure that's kind of lined up. We can always turn it if we need to. Just make sure your clamp's on there. And then kind of squeeze that together. And grab a 7/16. Go ahead and just kind of get this tightened a little bit to where it holds the pipe on there. Okay, so kind of like that, where it's still loose. And sorry, it looks like my camera kind of fell, but you can see I can still move this if I have to. So now let's go back down below. Then again, back down here, you can see I do need to maneuver this a little bit to get it into place. That, get this spun around here. Go ahead and drop drop your bolt in. Get that one started. Again, it's hard because the lift on here, it's hard to reach up there. And then this back one side is a little bit more of a challenge here. And I may have to do that one from up above. So yeah guys, that one's a lot easier from up above here to get that one started. Okay guys, so now let's go ahead and get our oil cooler swapped out here. So you're gonna have a bunch of Torx T30 screws, and then you're gonna have some T45s, these bigger ones here. So we're gonna pull off this whole assembly pretty much. Then this whole thing should just pop off of here like that, because we're gonna swap out those gaskets in that. And then you got this EGR cooler hose here. So if you see these two lines on top, you can go ahead and turn that and line that up with this one here, and then this should just pull right off of there. Next, grab a 13mm, undo these two nuts right here. And then you can go ahead and flip it over. And then we got two bolts right there. So go ahead and undo those. Those off of there. Now this should come out of here. May need to just kind of be hard to get that out of there. So I think we're kind of getting caught on the because there's O-rings right here. There's another one for that. So let's go ahead and get that off of there. You can use just a pry bar. There is a gasket on the lid part here we need to get replaced though. So I should have just took that off earlier. See, that pops off of there because we'll be replacing that one. And then you can see we need to pop this off of here. Just get a pry bar under here if you can. Just try not to damage anything. Get a different screwdriver here. There we go. So just kind of pry up on it. Just be careful as you're doing that. But that's off of there. So now, still kind of hard to get this off. So I'm going to grab something to kind of hold this up so we can kind of pound on these and then hopefully it'll drop. All right guys, so I'm just going to take a couple 2x4s here that I was using on the transmission jack there. Just kind of set these on the side to where they're not touching the cooler. And then let's see if we can just kind of pound this cooler out of here. Grab a socket that'll fit inside that. So you can grab like a 22mm. Looks like that one will fit pretty good. just like that. Get this out of the way. There you can see there's our old oil cooler. Okay guys, so I just want to show you something here. So this is the original oil cooler that I just pulled out. I put this one in probably, I don't know, 8 years ago or so. And if I flip this over, I'm trying not to make a mess here. You can see right there, it says USA on it. So this is the original Ford Max Force one that I put in. And then I got this replacement one, they say is updated from Motorcraft. So this is what it looks like. So if I flip it around, it's pretty similar to the old one that came out. But if you take a look here, you can see right there, it says made in China. And then the gaskets, so it comes with the screen, all your gaskets, but the normal gasket that goes around should be this bluish color. This is the gasket that came in the Powerstoke products upper gasket kit. So I'm kind of afraid to use this. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and go by my Ford dealership tomorrow. It's the weekend now, so they're not open. And I want to see what they're selling. I got this one from swagperformance.com. And everything looks legit, you know. Even says on here, Ford Memphis High, and then also Town and Country Ford out of Madison, Tennessee. So I don't know if Motorcraft or Ford is outsourcing these now, because I'm afraid this is just a relabeled Dorman, which I really do not want to use if I have to. So I'm going to kind of hold off on getting the oil cooler in. I'll probably go ahead and get the gaskets pulled and get it cleaned up. But the other thing I want to show you, so I counted the rows of cooling capacity on this, and this one only has 8, whereas this one has 9. So I counted all these cooling capacity rows. This one has 9, so better cooling capacity. And then if you take a look at the side here, you can just see how this one's put together. You got all the different rows here, and this one has 23 as opposed to this one having only 19 rows. It's the same height and everything, but you can see how much thicker this plate is right here compared to the Ford one here. So like I said, I don't know, maybe Ford is outsourcing these now and this is all you can get. I hope not. I'm hoping to find the Max Force USA one, because you know how stubborn these oil coolers can get. So like I said, I'm going to put this on hold for now. There's some other stuff we can do. Kind of sets me back, but I want to be safe than sorry. So let's go ahead and get the gaskets out, and then I'll go ahead and get that cleaned up. So in the meantime, guys, let's go ahead and just get these gaskets pulled off of this. And like I said, I'll probably, this one will be all right. I can spray it in some simple green, especially this top area, just get it clean. This one here, can't really do, so I'll just wipe it clean because you got your sensors and all that in there. Don't want to mess those up. But these two came off. They were on the oil cooler themselves. So if you flip this over, this small one went right there, and then this one went right there. So just go ahead and pull out the other one here using a pick, and then go ahead and pull off your main gasket here. This is that blue one that I was showing you earlier. Get that off. So like I said, I'll go ahead and get this cleaned up. And you also got this gasket here. And pull this one out. We'll replace that one. And then on this guy, you're gonna have one right here. I'm gonna replace that. And then this bottom part, this one here. Pull that one, and then this one. Okay, so let me get these cleaned up and I'll let my camera charge for a while here. Once I get these cleaned up, there's some other stuff we can go ahead and do while we wait for the Ford dealership to open tomorrow. Okay guys, so next I'm going to go ahead and mount our starter and also plug in the block heater while I'm down there. So I am replacing the stock one with this XDP heavy duty starter. This is a gear reduction starter. You can see it's the XD255. Should be a little bit better than this stock one here. Alright guys, so go ahead and crawl underneath the passenger side here. Grab your block heater cord, and then I'm going to use some dielectric grease on this. Just put a couple dabs in here. And let's go ahead and plug that in to your block heater there. And then, like I said, these tabs, just kind of click and hold it on. That's really all you can do, is just push this on there. So just like that. Not sure if you guys saw that, but hopefully pretty easy to do. All right guys, so grab your starter, and I like to just stick this top bolt in because that's the hardest one. Get this fed up in here. Get that started. And then if you can, get that one started up there. Just a couple threads is fine. Grab your other one. It's going to go in there. And then your larger bolt is going to go in this way. And those all three will be 13 millimeters. And then, as you saw, I'd like to go finger tight on this one just to kind of hold the whole starter in place there. So now let's go ahead and tighten these up. It says in the instructions right around 32 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to guesstimate around there. I'm not going to get my torque wrench up here. So get all those three tight there. Just like that. And then of course get your wires put on there. So your top one here, go ahead and unscrew that nut with the lock washer. And then your other one here. Get your wires into place. And then go ahead and get your nuts on there. And then the top nut's going to be a 16 millimeter. And then your bottom one's going to be a 10 millimeter. So just like that. And then if you can get this cover back on. Sometimes it might be a little hard to get it on here. But get that snapped on. Should be good like that. All right guys, so next I'm going to go ahead and get all of our Flexplate nuts on there. So we do have that one that I put on there the first time. when we installed the engine. So again, grab your 14 millimeter. I'm just going to go ahead and tighten that up all the way. And then we'll do the final torque at the end once we get all 6 of these on and tightened. So again, just try to find that nut. Make sure you're on it all the way. Go ahead and tighten it. So I'm going to go about there, not fully tight. And then I have my wife up there that's going to turn over the engine from the crankshaft to bring it around. So again, feel for the stud and just be careful, watch your fingers as that's turning. Okay, go ahead. A little more. Okay, so right there, and then be very careful because you don't want to drop these down in there. So make sure you can feel the stud and then get this started on there. And I just dropped it. That's all right, you can still fish it out, see? It's really hard to get these started on here. So there we go. Get this one tight. So then just repeat this process for all 6. And then once I'm done getting these all snug, then we'll do the torque on them. Okay guys, so there's the final 6th one. So then what you do is grab your torque wrench, and these are going to be torqued to 26 foot-pounds is all. So if you can get your torque wrench up in here, get on your bolt or your nut there, and let's go ahead and torque this 6th one. Okay, so let me, oh, now I'm stuck on there. Okay, and now I'm going to have her rotate it, but I'm going to do not the next one, I'm going to do the one after that so that it kind of torques on there evenly. So go ahead. Okay, a little more. Stop. So there's, I skipped the ones, and here's the next one after that one. So then just repeat this process until you get all 6 of them done. Okay, go ahead, babe. Okay guys, so that should be all 6 of them. All right guys, so once you get all those torqued, go ahead and grab your little cover here, and you can see there is an up on it. So get that in place and pop that in. Now our flex plate's all torqued down, so we should be good on that end. Then while we're down here, let's go ahead and connect our EGT probe here, if you guys have that or not. But go ahead and stick that in there. And tighten that up. Get that snug so it doesn't move. Like that. Okay guys, so I ended up running to my local Ford dealership this morning to see what they had in the way of oil coolers. And come to find out, this is what they're selling now. So I had him look up the original part number from International or the Max Force, the ones that I pulled out that say they're made in the USA. And as soon as he types in that part number, it brings up this new part number, and it says that that old part number has been superseded by this new part number. And I had him just go check in the back. He brought out a brand new box, same exact as this. I looked at everything, it's exactly the same, and it says it's made in China. So Ford has officially outsourced the oil coolers to China now, which isn't very good. I'm not very happy with that. So if you guys can get a hold of the old Max Force ones, you may want to try and hoard them, because the guy at the dealership said, yeah, this is what they're going to be using from now on. So I don't even know if they make the USA ones anymore or not, since this part number has been superseded by that. So like I said, I could go online and search for the Max Force ones, but what I'm afraid of is they're going to say it's the original part number, but then when they send it to me, it's going to be the same exact one saying that it's been superseded. So then I got to deal with returning it and everything else. So I'm just going to go ahead and chance this one, even though it is made in China. Hopefully Ford and Motorcraft are standing behind that, but we'll go ahead and give it a shot. So, and then like I said, I had him open it and everything, and it's the same exact gaskets. So there is no more of this blue one. It's this black one here. Screen was exactly the same, and then like I said, packaged the same way. And then he even pulled it out, and it has the same exact part number and everything on it. So like I said, I'm not very happy with the way Ford's going with this, but oh well, we'll give it a shot. So let's go ahead and get these new gaskets installed. You can see while I was waiting for the dealership to open, I went ahead and cleaned all these up. Same with all that stuff. So now we should be ready for the gaskets. And then guys, I forgot to pull out one other gasket too. So on this piece right here, you can see you can actually just push real hard with your finger and that pops right out. And there's a small gasket on that. I totally forgot about that one. So let me get a pick, we'll get that off. This one's kind of hard to get up under there, get it off. Just doesn't want to come off of there. There we go. So good. Go ahead and get your gaskets all laid out. There's that one. And let's go ahead and get this one on. Just make sure that's the same size. And this one you may need to use the pick again. Just be careful. Just kind of stretch it out a little bit, just to get it over that. Kind of on there like that. And then I'm just going to use a little lubricator plate or some grease. Like I said, just a little bit. I always just like putting these on these O-rings just so they don't tear. Let's get that on there. Drop that back into place. That'll just push in there like that. Now let's go ahead and get the these three round ones in here. So you got these thicker ones. These are going to go on your actual oil cooler. And then you got these two other ones here, and then another small one. Just don't get the this small one mixed up with that one. So this is going to be the very smallest one, and then this one will be a step up from that one. So this one here, get a little grease. This is going to go right here in your cover. It kind of pushes into place somewhat under those little tabs there. Same with these two here. Move these guys up, push those into place. like to just use a little grease too, because you don't want these to pop out as you go to install it. And then find your large gasket. Give me this guy here. Match up your 2 round holes. And that's upside down. Get that into place. Push that all in. Just make sure that's fully pressed in. Then you go ahead and flip this over. And let's get this main gasket into place. So that'll be this guy here. Once you get that pressed in, go ahead and grab this one here. And then grab your UGR cooler cover thing here. This one here, it's going to fit into there. And you can go flip this cover over. This larger round one's going to go in here. And there is one there, but they don't include that gasket. Not really sure why. And pushed into place. Then go ahead and grab your new oil cooler. Pop these off. And the larger one, of course, is going to go on the bottom, smaller one on the top. Again, I'm going to lube up these guys, especially these guys, because once we go to push it on, you don't want to tear these ones, even though they're real thick. But I like to get these on first and then the bottom ones, because then the bottom ones won't go into this groove here. Larger ones. It's kind of like that. Make sure those are nice and lubed up. So then go ahead and grab your cover here. Again, make sure all these O-rings are in place, not going to fall out. You can even just kind of shake it just to make sure. And let's go ahead and get this into place. Just double check everything. So again, this is going to go like this. Make sure those line up there. And then we're just going to kind of push down hard on this. And it should. Oh. You can see that just came out of there. So make sure that gets pushed in there. Don't want that popping out. Again, those are still in place. And then you just kind of want to use your weight to get this on there. So just kind of like that. Go ahead and get these 2 nuts started here. flip it over. I'll go ahead and do these two bolts here. And grab a socket wrench. Then grab your 13mm. Let's go ahead and kind of just get these snugged up evenly. Flip it over. Same with these guys. Just kind of doing it evenly so it draws up the same way. And then I didn't really see any torque online or in my manual for these, so I'm just gonna get them nice and snug and call it good. Just like that. Then go ahead and grab your cover here. Again, make sure that all looks good. Gasket's into place. And let's get this put on. And then if you remember, you had 4 of these smaller, or 5 of these smaller bolts. So just go ahead and get those. You can tell where those ones go by the hole size on here. I think it was 3 on here, and then the other 2 were over here. There's those 3. Get these other ones in here. So grab your Torx T40. We get these bigger ones snugged down, and then we'll torque them. And then grab your Torx T30, and we'll get these 3 snugged up. And then these T40s are going to be torqued to 16 foot-pounds. So grab your torque wrench if you want. Torque these guys down. It's pretty hard to get a torque on these guys with it being out of the vehicle, but it is doable. Alright guys, so for some reason my camera wasn't recording, but I went ahead and torqued these 3 here. Those are going to be only 89 inch-pounds on those. So then you can go ahead and grab this, go ahead and push this on over that O-ring like that. Grab your cover, make sure that gasket's on there still, and get that in place with your other 2 bolts here. And those will be the same 89 inch-pounds is what you'll want to torque these guys to. And just like that, oil cooler assembly is ready to be put in. Alright guys, so now let's go ahead and get the oil cooler assembly in here. We'll get our tape off. As you can see, that's why I taped it off. You can just see how much debris wants to fall in just from putting the engine in here. So let's see if we can get this off without it going in there as one piece. So just try to get all this as one piece off of here, so none of that goes down in there. Like that. And then just double check in there, make sure there isn't any debris, because if you got any debris in here, it's going to end up in your your IPR valve screen. So if you need to, just go ahead and pat. Don't rub, because then you'll get fibers from the rag. You just kind of pat some of these areas, and if you need to, you can always just get your wet dry vac, your shop vac, get in here and try and suck out any of this if there is a bunch of debris. But this doesn't look too bad. Okay guys, so next I'm going to kind of prime the high pressure oil pump there. I'm just going to dump some fresh motor oil down in the this little trough here where the screen goes, and then we'll fill up the galley here with just a little bit as well, and then we'll get our screen into place. So just kind of dump some of this in there. You can see it working the bubbles out there. So let that just kind of work its way back there to the pump. Dump a little more here. And fill this galley. So go about right there. And then go ahead and take your brand new screen out of the package. Make sure it isn't torn or anything. And then we're going to set this down in here. Just like that. Kind of holds itself in place there. And then when the oil cooler is on top, it'll help hold that down. So just kind of get it in there like that. Grab your cooler, again making sure the gasket's in place. That goes around here. And go ahead and get that set down. Set that in place. Then go ahead and get all your bolts in place and kind of started. We'll get all these snug and then we'll torque these as well. And then with your torque wrench, you're going to torque all those to 16 foot-pounds and your 10 millimeter. And then again, I'll kind of just crisscross like I did on tightening them, just so it goes down evenly. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get the new intake manifold on. So I did upgrade to this O-Dogs ported intake. This should allow a lot more airflow and just be a lot better all along. You can see, kind of hard to see, but size comparison, this is a little larger, so it's a little taller. And if you notice, you got these big holes here, so your bolt's going to go through and bolt through the bottom, and then they get all these plugs here. This is the hardware that comes with it. And this will screw into those holes once you get the screws in to cover that up. So unlike the stock manifold where you got your bolts going through it and then you have a casting that goes through that. So when the air's coming in, it's kind of going like this, zigzagging around the casting where the bolt holes go through. Whereas this one, it'll be just even flow all the way through and should be a lot better. And this does have the port for the EGR valve, and then my EGR cooler will bolt onto it as well. They do make a larger one than this, I think, but it's for an EGR delete and all that. But I gotta have my EGR here, so let's go ahead and get this kind of set up. Like I said, they give you these screws here, and then a couple nipples, and then these plugs here. So we will have to take some of like the sensors off of here, and then my EGR bolts, so we may have to transfer a few over to this one. Okay guys, so the best way of going about this, I think is going to be getting our intake gasket kind of on here first, and then you will need a 5mm Allen, a long one, to be able to get through this intake here. So I think what's going to be best is if you flip it over, and then this locating tab is supposed to be on the inside like that. These are my Powerstoke product intake manifold gaskets. So you want that tab to be upward, since this is upside down, but you want that facing up and towards the inside of the motor there. So just like that. And then what I'm going to do is stick this kind of in here like this, and I'm going to go in sideways, tilting this manifold up, because if you try and do this on the vehicle, this bolt's just going to fall through and get stuck inside there, and then you'll need a magnet to fish it out. So I'm going to see if we can just get some of these started and then poke through this excuse me, intake manifold, and see if that works. So just get this kind of tilted upward on its side, and then let's see if we can just maybe even get this first one in and just see if this is going to work or not. So if you go through, so like that, and then if you just kind of get this started through, you can see it kind of holds it in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that to all these bolts. Can't remember how many there is, but looks like 2 for this one here. So yeah, just do something like that, and then that'll hold this intake gasket on for you. Let me do the rest of these, and then I'll move on to the other side. So kind of like that, guys. And then the last hole here, you're gonna reuse your one from the factory intake. So this long one here, go ahead and stick that one through. Get it started just like that. So let me go ahead and flip this over and do the other side here. Okay guys, so just like that, those are all started now. So now I think what I'm going to do is probably get my EGR cooler into place here. So go ahead and pull off your EGR cooler bolts here, off the old intake. And then go ahead and grab your EGR gasket. So this one here, we'll go ahead and put that one there. That's where that goes. And then I had this on my truck a long time ago, but I did go with the bulletproof diesel EGR cooler. Like I said, it's been on this vehicle before, but then I took it back off when I was living in an area where I didn't need emissions. But now we need them again, so I'm going to put this back on. I did put a little bit of lube around the O-ring here, and that's the one that's going to snap into place here. So let's go ahead and get this kind of put in place. Wonder if I should wait on this. If I should just, because we need to push that O-ring into there. All right, guys. So I'm just going to kind of tilt this upward, and then get this gasket into place. And then just stick your bolts through, just a little bit to hold that gasket, keep it from moving. Just kind of something like that. And then grab your EGR cooler. Let's get that O-ring shoved in through here, but at the same time watching that gasket to make sure your holes are going to line up and that gasket's not going to move. So kind of like that. You can kind of poke through a little bit just to see if your bolt holes are lining up or not. you can do something like that, get it kind of started, it'll pull the cooler towards the intake sucking that O-ring in. Just go back and forth. There we go. So just like that. And then you can see that O-ring is sucked up in there. So we should be good right there. And then I will be using a new EGR connector hose here from strictly from Ford. So you want to just slide that on to the end. And there is an O-ring in here. So again, I'm going to kind of lubricate this one O-ring here with some Lubriplate. And then you want to slide with the O-ring onto the EGR cooler, because this end here will go on to the oil cooler housing there. So just kind of slide this back as much as it'll go. So then we can go ahead and rip off this tape on both sides. Making sure nothing fell down in those holes. And then you will need a gasket there for your EGR going to the up pipes there. So make sure you got that gasket ready. Let's go ahead and get the intake up in here. Oh, and I also forgot, we do, so you see this little O-ring here, we need to replace that little donut. That comes in the Powerstoke products gasket kit as well. So that's this guy here. So go ahead and throw him in there. Then go ahead and get your intake in here. And let me grab my clamp for that. And then don't forget your clamp here as well, which is going to go on the up pipe. So I'm just going to kind of get that set on. And let's just see if we can get our gasket inside here. So if you get your gasket in there kind of like that. Grab your intake. Let's get this set up in here. Try and line up your up pipes with your EGR cooler there. And let's get this set into place. See if I can get this kind of set into place first. Might be easier. Then do the EGR valve. If you get it somewhat in place like that, then try and mess with this back here. Turning that pipe wherever you need to. Get that around there. Something kind of like that. I'll latch that here in a minute, because I may need to loosen that a little bit. But let me see if I can get some of these holes. Make sure the bolts are going to go through them and everything's lined up first, because you don't want to have any leaks. So just make sure you can get all these kind of started by hand with no resistance. You can see these are going in pretty smooth, which is what you want. Then you know you're perfectly lined up. So like I said, as you saw, if we were to do this with it sitting in here and then you try to bring a bolt down in here, it would just probably fall in there, and then you got to fish it out with a magnet. So I think this is probably the best way of doing it. Let's try this side. Okay guys, so just spent probably a good 20 minutes or so trying to get this EGR cooler lined up with the up pipe back there. I finally got it. I didn't record the whole thing because it was just taking too long. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. But what I did was I had to undo, actually not undo, but just loosen up the up pipe down to the exhaust manifold bolts. I barely put those nuts on the bolts there, and I was able to pull up on this up pipe, and that was able to kind of lock that into place and get that aligned with this EGR cooler perfectly so I can get this clamp on here. Now I didn't tighten this all the way yet because I want to still get the turbo up in here, and then if I need to move anything around I can without anything being tight. But you can see I can still get my wrench or socket wrench down in there with a 730 or 7/16 on there and tighten that up. So my recommendations is, I mean, I'm not telling you guys what to do. If you don't need an EGR cooler in your area, I wouldn't use one, because this is it's just a piece of junk and a pain to get in here. It takes up room and just a mess to work with. So if you guys don't need one, I wouldn't use one. But unfortunately in my area, the emissions are coming back. So I had to undelete this truck and go with the bulletproof EGR cooler. So it is what it is. But now let's go ahead and start tightening these and torquing them. So I downloaded ODOG's instructions, and it's kind of weird how they want you to tighten these. So what they want you to do is there's 3 different stages. So they say to loosely install 1 through 8, which is going to be this side. And then stage 2, they want you to tighten 9 through 16 to 8 foot-pounds. Once you get all those tightened, they say stage 3, tighten everything to 8 foot-pounds. So it's just kind of different that this side torques down first and then you do this one. But that's what it says to do, so that's what I'm going to do. So we already got these ones pretty much loosely installed because we just kind of finger tightened them. So let's just go ahead and torque these ones down to 8 foot-pounds. And the way they have it numbered is this stud back here is going to be 9. And then I forgot to tell you guys too, I flip-flopped these 2 around because I had this stud over here on this side and the bolt on that. But the bolt's supposed to be on your passenger side and the stud is supposed to be on your driver's side. So anyways, this is supposed to be 9, and then you come up here to, this is going to be 10, and then you go back here to 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So kind of weird, but let's go ahead and just get these kind of snug real quick, and then we'll get the torque wrench out and torque them. So just get it tight to where, but not too tight, because 8 foot-pounds really isn't that much. So now what I'm going to do is just go back and torque all those to 8 foot-pounds in the same sequence. If you can get you can see I can't really get this torque wrench on that back one because that up pipe's in the way. So I'm just going to guesstimate 8 foot-pounds. I'm going to say about right there. Back to 10. Turn that to 8 foot-pounds. And then we'll go 11 through 16. So there's all those. So now we're going to do these to 8 foot-pounds. And you're going to start out, this is going to be 1. Then you're going to go all the way back here to your bolt, which will be 2. Come back to the front, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So go ahead and get all those snug, and then just like I just did here, we'll do the 8 foot-pounds torque on those guys. All right, guys, so just like that, that's all 16 of them torqued down to 8 foot-pounds. And then next you want to tighten up your EGR cooler bolts here, the stud and then the bolt there. Those are going to be 10 foot-pounds on those. So now let's get the EGR cooler, this little pipe, blue pipe, whatever, not really sure what it's called, but you want to turn it to where the double lines are on the side, on both sides, and then the single line is going to be on top. And you're going to line that single line up with this again, and this should just pop right over onto your cooler housing here. Once you get that on, then you want to turn it to where the double line's on top, and that locks it into place so it can't pop off. So we'll be good like that. Next, grab a 8mm and go ahead and get all your plugs here. You can pull this plastic protector off and go ahead and start screwing those in wherever you had the bolt holes. We still need to transfer a couple sensors in that. And they don't list torque or anything on these, so I'm just going to get them pretty much snug and call it good. Next, go ahead and grab a 1/2-inch socket, and let's go ahead and put in these 2 nipples here. Of course, the larger one's going to go right here, and then your smaller one's going to go there. Now, it doesn't say anything about putting anything on the threads, and it doesn't say anything really on these. So I'm just going to use a little thread sealant here, just to be safe. Not much, just a little bit here. Put some on here. If I got any left. And of course it's real watery. So like I said, if you want, put on a little thread sealant. Go ahead and screw that guy in. Same with this one here. Just a little bit on there. And then take your 13mm and then just go ahead and get those snug. So that's probably good about there. Don't want to go too tight. Plus we got that thread sealant on there, that'll do the job. So then take a 21mm, let's go ahead and pull out this sensor here. We'll transfer this over. Ugh, If you take a look, you can see how clogged that is with carbon. So let me grab some carb cleaner. Let me clean this out real quick, and then we'll probably also replace this O-ring on here. All right, guys, so I went ahead and cleaned that. So that is what it's supposed to look like, okay? So I think before I go ahead and install this onto the new intake, I might just see if I can pick one of these up if it's cheap enough. Because yeah, that was just covered in carbon. Who knows if it was even working correctly. So let me see if I can find another one of these tomorrow before I go ahead and stick this one in. If not, we'll go ahead and put this one in. But that's pretty much it. I think I can call it a night for tonight. Only other thing I'm going to do is transfer these couple bolts here, and then this one here, because we will have to reuse them. So I'll get these two transferred over to the new intake and keep going on it tomorrow. Okay guys, so I looked up how much a new air intake temperature sensor would be, and they want like 50 bucks for one of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and reuse this. So I did clean it up really good. You can see there's that little yellow resistor in there. So as you're cleaning this up, just be careful of that resistor. And I used some carb cleaner at the beginning, but then I thought, man, I probably shouldn't be using that. So I did have some of this throttle body air intake cleaner. This should be a little bit lighter on that resistor in there. And then the gasket kit came with a green O-ring like that, so I just went ahead and threw a new O-ring on it. So we'll go ahead and put this in. If it does go bad, it'll probably throw code anyways, and then I'll replace it. Grab your 21 millimeter, just get that in your intake. Get it nice and snug. All right guys, so next I'm gonna go ahead and kind of drape the main harness over this. Because before we get the turbo in, I wanna make sure I can get that IPR valve plugged in and then the blanket on it, because the turbo kind of blocks that once you get that in place. And then we can also get our injector wiring harness up on here as well, and get that ground strap put into place there. So let's go ahead and do that next. So I'm just gonna kind of shove a rag in here for right now until we get our intake on, and then our EGR valve port here, just so nothing falls down into the intake while we do this. And then I just put a rag over the oil filter housing there. So like I said, just go ahead and drape this kind of over. Kind of something like that. And this actually went back here because this is going to be your IPR plug-in. So let me just kind of do it. That's what I was looking for, kind of like that. And then this is going to go back down behind here. This comes over forward. Kind of something like that for now. So go ahead and get your IPR valve plugged in here. So again, you got this foil wrap and then this metal clip. So get that into place and get that plugged in. Kind of hard to reach back in here and get this plugged in. That's why I wanted to do it before we got the turbo on there. So get it plugged in, get your metal clip into place there. So that kind of holds it there. And then go ahead and wrap up your plug in there with this foil. Again, easier said than done. It's just really hard to get your fingers back in here. So just like that, to where it won't get burned. Plus we got the heat shield there. And then this will also go on here, but we got to get the ground strap on first. And then as you can see, I went inside this fuel line here to kind of hold it. And then you go ahead and take this foil blanket. It's going to wrap around. And then go ahead and get that snapped into place. Got to kind of stretch it. There we go. So just like that. So now I'm going to get my fuel injector harness in here because that has the ground strap for this. So just kind of drape this over as well. And then we'll figure out the routing later. Because this goes underneath this one here. But then these go over the top of that, so get those kind of in place. And then the only negative about this intake manifold is it doesn't have the stud sticking up, so you can't put your wiring harness, hold that in place, because that's where these little plastic things go on the studs there. So only negative side about it. So go ahead and get your injectors plugged in. So I think this went underneath kinda. So get your last injector back there plugged in first. So you kind of push it on, and then you can push on the spring. So push down on the spring as you plug it in, and it should plug straight into the injector. Just like that. I'll show you here on this one. You guys can see that, but so if you just push down on this and then using your other finger push down on the injector, it should go right on. Just like that. You just kind of pull on it and make sure it's plugged in all the way. Same with this one here. So like I said, there should be a stud right here sticking up, and that's where this would go, but that's okay. That'll work like that. And then you can get your ground strap here put on. Grab your 10 millimeter little nut here. And go ahead and get that tight. Once you get that snug, you can grab this IPR wire here, and then you will have I'm wondering if we're gonna need to go above this fuel line. I'm not sure yet. Or if these FICM wires are gonna have to go like that. But there is let me get these under here. This little tab here, which will go on that stud. So that goes right over top of that like that. Just make sure this isn't gonna come in contact too much with the up pipe there. Then you can go ahead and plug in your other fuel injector up front here. Your air intake temperature sensor. And you can see mine doesn't want to click into place here. Looks like my tab's kind of worn out. The pigtail here. go. Just had to push it into place. And then you can go ahead and feed this down to your camshaft position sensor down there. And we will need to get our fuel line on too. But that should still give us enough room. And actually, let me retape this. So if you guys can, some of these wires that you can see the sheathings coming off this tape, grab some electrical tape and just tape those up while you have it off. So now you can go ahead and feed this through. And then this will go to our exhaust back pressure sensor once we get that on, after we get our thermostat in place. Then go ahead and plug that in. Hopefully you guys can see that, but camshaft position sensor right there. Make sure you plug that guy in or it will not start. Like I said, I replaced this probably a few months ago or so it is doable, but it was pretty hard. And then you got this clip, and I believe that just went onto the block right here. So just kind of stick that on there. Or maybe it's up here. There it was. I think it's right here. So it's just supposed to slide over that. Sits there like that. And like I said, we should have enough room to get our fuel line through here still. And then I almost forgot to plug in this glow plug harness here. Get your red locking tab open. Plug that in. That. This will go in here. And while you're up here, you might as well plug in this side, all your fuel injectors. Okay, got those all plugged in. I think, let's see where this glow plug harness went. And then this glow plug harness, I'm gonna hold off and see. I want to see where our alternator kind of sits on this intake before I plug some of this other stuff in. So this is going to have to be flipped, I think. Okay guys, so now we can go ahead and get our turbo pedestal into place. And then I like to just kind of drop in these two bolts on this side, because it's kind of hard to get your bolts in there because the EGR cooler's in the way. So if you kind of just get those set into place like that, and then you can grab your other two here. Get these ones started. Get those snug, and then we'll torque those as well. Then grab your torque wrench, and you're going to torque all four of those to 23 foot-pounds. Okay guys, let's go ahead and take a look at our new turbo. So this is the KC Stage 1 turbo with the 10 blade. So that should have the 03 loud whistle. And I originally was going to go with the Stage 2 KC turbo, but Blessed Performance talked me out of that because I live at a high altitude. I'm a little over 5,000 feet above sea level. They said this Stage 1 will perform a lot better in the higher altitudes. They said I could have went with the Stage 2, but I'd have quite a bit of turbo lag, and I didn't really want that, especially climbing up mountains and all that, or pulling. So went with the KC Stage 1. They said this will still perform very well with my 175/30 injectors and their custom tuning. So this is what I ended up with. And you can see it includes all the mounting hardware and everything. They give you a bunch of stickers and stuff. So now let's go ahead and get our new O-rings on our turbo drain tube here. Looks like it's these green ones. So let's go ahead and get those on real quick and then see if we can get this in. So go ahead and pull off your old O-rings on here. Get your new ones. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and lubricate these O-rings with some Lubriplate again. Just don't want these tearing when you're sliding the turbo on it or into the high pressure oil pump cover there. And then you can go ahead and slide this down into that hole, your high pressure oil pump cover there. Push that in. It should kind of click like that, and then it'll sit right on top of the pedestal here, just like that. Okay guys, so now let's go ahead and see if we can get this turbo up in here. So you can see these are still kind of loose here. The up pipes, if I need to move them, I can. Can't really go much forward or back because I had to tighten it somewhat on the EGR cooler there, but I still got a little wiggle room here. And then you got these little slots on the pedestal here for it to sit onto. So hopefully this goes in nice and smooth. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. Kind of like that. See, it kind of fell into place. And just take a look. Make sure you're on that turbo drain tube there. That looks flush. So it should be good there. You can see this is lined up right there into that slot. Check on the other side here. That one's lined up as well. And I can tell that we are not lined up on the up pipe here. And then one thing I totally forgot to do, I meant to put these on first, but that's all right. You can still undo them. You should replace these, but I'm going to reuse mine. So you can just kind of undo it there, get it around your exhaust, and then you can kind of get that into place sitting on there like that. Let's do the other side here. So you can see our up pipe's not fully seated, but that's okay. And let's get this clamp on here first. Trying to debate which way I should put it, which way is going to be the easiest to tighten this up. So I'm thinking probably this way. That way I can go in maybe through here when it comes time to tighten this guy up. So yeah, let's try that. So if you can get this back around, I'm hoping this will go around so I don't have to pull this turbo back off. Yeah. So if you get that around your up pipes, and just kind of scoot it back for now. Because like I said, I'm going to have to move these up pipes. You can see it kind of going into place there. So you may just have to wiggle the turbo back and forth there. Same with your up pipes to get that to kind of click into place, because you do not want a gap on here. You can see we still got a little bit of a gap down at the bottom there. So let me see if I can get this kind of in place, this clamp. There we go. So you can see, looks like we're in now. So yeah, that should be lined up right there. So let's get this clamp on. Just double check. So I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but there is just a little gap on the bottom there. So once we start tightening this clamp, I'm hoping that I can wiggle this a little more, and that should tighten up on that. Even when I do that, there we go. So just wiggling that turbo, and it kind of falls into place there. But before I do that, I'm going to get my bolt started on the turbo. So go ahead and get this one. I'm just going to get these kind of started in here, and then we'll make sure our clamps are fully connected, and then we can tighten these at the end. I just want to get them started so our holes line up here with our pedestal bracket. And then you got this one in the very back. A lot of people say you don't need this one, but I always just stick it on just to be safe. So now all three of those started. And then go ahead and get this side lined up as well. So kind of pull that together. Get your clamp lined up. Once you get your clamp lined up, as you're pulling on this, try and get this locked into place here, this clip, like that. And that'll kind of hold this together. And then we can go ahead and tighten this one up, but let's get that other side 100%. Because this one doesn't really matter as much as that other side. You want to make sure there's no leaks on that other side from the up pipes. Okay guys, so you can see this side's pretty lined up still. I did have to take this bolt out just to lift up on the turbo a little bit. You can see now we're pretty much flush. You can see there's still just that little gap at the bottom there. But if I tilt this turbo upward just a little bit, it pretty much lines up. So I think what I'm going to do, get my clamp into place, and then as I kind of slowly tighten this, I'm going to lift up on the turbo So kind of like that, because you can see now it's perfectly lined up. So let me get this around here and the clip into place. You may need to loosen this all the way to the end to get that to clamp over that. So once you get it clamped, you can then rotate it to where you need to get your wrench or impact down through here. So I'm thinking about right there. And then like I said, I'm going to kind of lift up on the turbo. That should seal that bottom end. And we should be good right there like that. So probably like that. I think we're good there. And it looks like we're still sitting on, pretty much sitting on that. So kind of like that. And then you can go ahead and get your bolt back in here. And it looks like it might not be sitting all the way down, so it's, I mean, you can just pull on it a little bit there. Okay guys, so I figured out why this isn't perfectly lining up. So if you take a look back here, you can see this stud where this heater hose connects to it onto the firewall. It goes from the heater core back to the Degas reservoir. And the up pipes is fully pressed up against that, and I can't move them anymore to give this lined up perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to remove this whole turbo again, and I might even need to undo this portion here just to get back there. And then what I'm going to have to do is either grind that down. I think that's probably going to be the best bet, because the threads don't start till way up more towards the firewall. So I think if I ground that down just enough, I should be okay. So let me go ahead and do that, and we'll see if that works. Okay guys, not sure if you can see that, but I did trim that down. All I used was my Dremel tool and cut just the tip of that off. You can see compared to the other one. So, and then if you take a look on here, you can see where it was hitting. So it was hitting right in here, scratching that all up. So I'm hoping that's enough clearance. Should be to get the turbo lined up with it. And then once I start tightening the up pipes down there by the manifold, that should bring this down just a little bit too, to help out. But I just want to make sure that the turbo lines up with this, because you don't want to leak there. So let me go ahead and get this back together, and then we'll see how it lines up. Okay guys, so with that trimmed up, now you can see I'm perfectly on there. So there's no gap at the bottom, no gap at the top. It's perfectly set on the turbo now, that up pipe. So we should be good right there. So now get this clamp back around here. I should have did that before again, but I forgot. Okay, so I got all my bolts kind of started in the turbo there. Same with this one here. And then it's probably hard to see, but I got the back one started as well. I think before I go ahead and tighten those down though, I want to make sure all of my clamps are tightened fully. So I'll go ahead and tighten this one a little more. Same with this one on the up pipes. And then I'm just going to double check on those, because I had to loosen those ones up as well. Same with that one back there. And then I'll reach through here and tighten up that EGR one just a little more. And then we'll go down below and get those ones tightened down on the up pipe to the manifold. And then we'll go ahead and tighten these ones on the turbo here. And as you guys are tightening these V-band clamps, you just want to go pretty snug on them. You don't want to go too tight, because if you go too tight, then you just ruin the whole clamp. So I like to just, like I said, pretty much just get them kind of nice and snug. So I'm gonna say probably about like that, where it's not, I'm not using too much force. You can see it won't move at all anymore. And then you can just kind of double check, make sure you're good there. Now I'll go ahead and reach around, try to get to that EGR one. I may have to put a smaller extension on it to get to it though. So then you go ahead and tighten your up pipe to the manifold bolts here. Again, that's going to be a 12mm nut and then a 10mm on the bolt there. BD's instructions say to torque these to 20 foot-pounds if you can. It's going to be pretty hard to get a torque wrench under here, so I'll just guesstimate on these. And it's going to be hard to reach here, so let me move my camera. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. Really, it doesn't take much to be right at 20 foot-pounds on these guys. It's about like that. And then, of course, same thing on the driver's side. This one's a little easier, except for your top one. You got to go and get that one from up above. But let me just get this one pretty snug here. You can see how loose I had it. Get this nut a little tighter so it doesn't just sit there and spin. And the other side, it looked like it, I didn't even have to hold the top portion of the bolt. I was able to just turn it down here on the nut and it tightened up just fine. And maybe I spoke too soon. Yeah, that is. Let's see if I can jerk it. Maybe help tighten it. No, it's spinning on me, so let me grab my wrench. All right, there. Let me go up top and I'll tighten that other side. Now we can go ahead and get our turbo bolts tightened up since we got all of our clamps done now. So just go ahead and get those pretty snug here with your 10mm. And of course that one in the way back, which you'll have to reach around with some extensions to get to. Kind of see it there. Okay, so next what I would like to do is just lube up the bearings just to make sure, because it's going to be a while before the oil reaches the turbo when we start it. So take that cover off. You got this hole here, and now I'm going to take this small funnel, pour a little oil in here. As I do that, I'm going to go ahead and spin this, and we'll lube up the bearings. So it probably doesn't take much, but just be careful. You don't want to dump a bunch of oil and then make a huge mess here. Just like I kind of did there. So just kind of spin it. Grab you a towel if you need to soak up some of this, but let's go ahead and spin it. Make sure some of that oil gets down in there. Should be good like that. Just soak up some of this. So next, let's go ahead and get our oil feed tube here. And if you guys don't have the updated, it's kind of a flexible line here, so make sure you have the upgraded oil feed tube. Let's go ahead and get this O-ring off of here, the old one. And then I'm going to go ahead and lube this one up. And we'll get that one around. Just like that. Let's go ahead and stick that on. So then go ahead and come down here to your oil cooler housing here, and let's go ahead and slip this into the hole there. You may have to just kind of pop it into place. Get that lined up. Grab your new 8mm bolt that came in the turbo kit. Just kind of get that started. We'll get it tight here in a second when we get the upper line done. So then grab your new gasket. Get that into place. Nice and lined up. Grab your 2 bolts. Get this kind of set into place here. And we'll go ahead and get these nice and snug. And it's pretty hard to get a torque wrench up in here anyway, so just get them nice and snug with your 10mm wrench. And then grab your 8mm, get that one snug as well. Okay guys, so now let's go ahead and get some of this stuff organized here, some of these wiring harnesses. So I believe this kind of went like, trying to remember here. This went down kind of like that. This plugs into here, your other glow plug harness. So get that on, lock and tab. And then I think this goes on this stud right here. So maybe to turn it so it's kind of like that. This will stay like that. Other part of this glow plug harness down here. Move my camera for you guys. And then I think this went under here. This one on top of that. It's kind of there. This I think sits in there. Still got to get our fuel line on down there. That should still clear that, I think. Kind of like that. And then I believe this went onto the stud here. But first, let's get our glow plug harness plugged in. Oops. And then try and get your glow plug harness under here, like that. Get these plugged in. You gotta kind of go at the same time to get these plugged in. And then your ICP sensor here. So go ahead and push these on. And then make sure they hear that little click. And you know they're on there. Just like that. Put that guy back on there. Then you can go ahead and get your wire back on your battery terminal here, your positive one. Then you got your coolant pipe here. Let's go ahead and try to find a new O-ring for this. It's kind of hard to get up under it. Go ahead and slip your new O-ring on. And then take out your bolt. Slip that guy into place. Go ahead and push down. Get that to lock down in there. Take this bolt out up here. It's getting in the way. Get your bolt back in there, and once we tighten this down, it should sink that down to where it should be. There we go. Grab your 8mm. Go ahead and get that tightened up. So then go ahead and get your bolt into your intake up here. And this is just a little off, so you may need to kind of push on it to get that started in there, because this intake's a little bit bigger right here. Let me see if I can hit it with a mallet. Try to bring it over some. Like that did a little bit. Just enough to get it started there. And then you can go ahead and get your this little vacuum line here, plugs into there. This hose for your map sensor, I think, goes under here. Get that onto your new intake. Squeeze this clamp. And we may not even need this clamp anymore, because the other one was just straight. It wasn't barbed like that. But we'll leave it on there. Get that pushed on, like that.